Hello students, this is Nirmala from Vivekananda Academy of Human Excellence. Today we are going to see class 6 history chapter new questions and ideas. In this lesson we will see the teachings of Buddha Bhagwan Mahavira. Now in this map you can see the Sarnath, Bodh Gaya, Kushinagar in UP, Bodh Gaya is in Bihar. These places are important for the study of Buddha. Now you can see here the chart of life of Buddha, the founder of Buddhism. We can see here the Siddhartha, the name of Buddha, also known as Gautama, was born about 2500 years ago. Buddha belonged to Sakyagana and he was Kshatriya. If we see in this map, Lumbini is the place where he born. It is the place on the border of India and Nepal. Second point we can see, which is again important, he left the comforts of his home in search of knowledge. When he understood the sorrowness or sadness, grief in the society, in this world, he decided to leave all the comforts, because from birth he has lived in luxury and in palace he has lived very much comfort life. So he decided to leave the comfort life. He wandered for several years and held meetings and discussions. From one place to another he has wandered, that he will get somewhere the knowledge for what purpose he has left the house. He meditated for several days under a peepal tree at Bodh Gaya in Bihar, because he wanted to get that knowledge of the world, and that's why under a peepal tree he sat down in meditation for many of the days, that when they will get that knowledge, when they will get that enlightenment. He attended the enlightenment. He came to be known as Buddha, or the wise man. Wise man or clever man he was. He got enlightenment under a peepal tree. At Sarnath near Varanasi, he gave his first sermon to the people. He guided the people. You can see the places with the red dots. Bodh Gaya is in Bihar, Sarnath is in Uttar Pradesh, and Kushinagar is in Uttar Pradesh. These three places are important. He spent his entire life educating people and he passed away at Kushinagar in Uttar Pradesh. So he is after the enlightenment, he has again wandered from different places and he has guided the people and educated the people with his good thoughts. This is the stupa you can see where he was giving the ideas or giving the thoughts to the people. He was the founder of Buddhism. Now we will turn towards the teachings of Buddha, which he has given after enlightenment. He has taught that life is full of sufferings and unhappiness, because when he has saw first time the grief, the sorrow, the sadness, ugliness of the life, he has understood that what is the ultimate truth of life is the sorrowness. Unhappiness is caused by unfulfilled desires. When we keep some desires, when we have expectations, if those expectations will not be fulfilled, then we will become sad, or that unhappiness comes to us. He described it as thirst or tanha. Means always we want something and we search for something that I want this and I want that, and in that desire we lose our happiness, we lose our uh, good things, or we lose our good time to live. Always we have thirst for this and that. He taught constant craving could be overcome by following moderation in everything. If we will just desire, we will just expect, we will get unhappiness. But if we will follow moderation in everything, that yes, if I have this, it's okay. If I don't have anything, it's also okay. If we will keep our thoughts moderate, then we will get happiness. People should be kind and respect the lives of others, including animals. We have to follow non-violence, we have to follow the truth, and that respect towards the people, towards the animals also, towards the insects also, even towards the trees, towards the nature. We have to show that kindness, respect towards every life or all the livelihood. Then only we will get the happiness. Next, he teaches us that result of our actions or the karma affect us both in this life and the next. So whatever we do in our life, good or bad, we will get its result. That is our karma. What karma you do in this life, you will get its result. In this life also we get, as well as in the next life or in the next birth also, that impact remains. So our karma's result we will get. So do the good karma or good actions, you will get good results. Next he says that encouraged people to think for themselves rather than simply accept what he said. Buddha was teaching all the time, he was giving many of the teachings, but what he says, he encourages people to think over that. Don't accept only that this thought is said by Gautam Buddha, so as it is you will accept. Don't do that. You just think over the thought, whether it is good or not, whether it is able to listen, or are you able to listen that or accept that, then only you accept, otherwise no. Buddha has given his teachings in Prakrit language, which was common people's language. At that time, the people were speaking in Prakrit language, and that's why he has given all his teachings in Prakrit language. The next we'll see, that is Upanishads. What are Upanishads? First of all, we'll see. Upanishads were a part of the latter Vedic texts. Upanishads literally means approaching and sitting near. It contains conversations between teachers and students. In this Upanishads, we get the text where approaching and sitting its meaning is, and it is written in conversation form, and it is also written in Prakrit language. This is a conversation between teachers and students. Most Upanishadic thinkers were men, especially Brahmins and Rajas. Occasionally, there is mention of women thinkers, such as Gargi, who was famous for her learning and participated in debates held in royal courts. Poor people rarely took part in these discussions. One famous exception was Satyakama Jabala, who was named after his mother, the slave woman Jabali. He had a deep desire to learn about reality, was accepted as a student by a Brahmin teacher named Gautama, and became one of the best known thinkers of the time. Many of the ideas of Upanishads were later developed by the famous thinker Shankaracharya. What were the questions that Upanishadic thinkers wanted to answer? Upanishadic thinkers wanted to know about life after death. Is there something permanent in the universe? Some wanted to know why sacrifices should be performed. They felt there had to be something permanent in the universe that lasted even after death. Their ideas were recorded in Upanishads. So many of these types of questions were arised by the Upanishadic thinkers, and they wanted the answers for all of these questions, that from where they will get the answers for these questions. Here is one story about Buddha. Once there was a woman named Kisa Gotami whose son had died. She was so sad that she roamed through the streets of the city carrying the child with her, asking for help to bring him back to life. A kind man took her to the Buddha. The Buddha said, "Bring me a handful of mustard seeds, and I will bring you a child back to life." Kisa Gotami was overjoyed and started off at once. But the Buddha gently stopped her and added, "The seeds must come from the house of a family where nobody has died." Kisa Gotami went from door to door, but wherever she went, she found out that someone or the other, father, mother, sister, brother, husband, wife, child, uncle, aunt, grandfather, grandmother had died. In every house, someone was there who has died in the past. She has not got any one house also where no one has died. Through this incident, Kisa Gotami understood that the death is the ultimate truth here on this earth. Now we will turn towards Vardhaman Mahavira, who founded the Jainism. He is the founder of Jainism. He has also given different views and thoughts to the people. He was also belonged to Kshatriya family. He was Kshatriya prince of Lochavis, a group part of Vajji Sangha. At the age of 30, he left his home and went to live in a forest. For 12 years, he led a lonely life, at the end of which he attained enlightenment. He was the last and the 24th Tirthankara of the Jainas, Vardhaman Mahavira. He also spread his message around this time, that is 2500 years ago. He taught a simple doctrine: men and women who wish to know the truth must leave their homes. They must follow very strictly the rules of ahimsa, which means not hurting or killing living beings. All beings, said Mahavira, long to live. Every living being has come here on this earth to live long, so no violence should be there. All should follow the rule of ahimsa. No any killing of animal will follow. To all things life is dear. Ordinary people could understand the teachings of Mahavira and his followers because they used Prakrit language. Vardhaman Mahavira also given his teachings in Prakrit language, which was common people's language. It is used in different parts of the country and named after the regions in which they are used. The followers had to lead a very simple life. They have to beg for food, be honest, and should not steal. So, beg in the sense they have to ask for the food, bhiksha. They have to go to door and they have to ask for the food 2 times. They have to observe the celibacy. They have to see men had to give up everything, including their clothes also. So all the belongings, their wealth, money, family members, even their clothes also, they have to leave. It was very difficult for most men and women to follow these strict rules. Nevertheless, thousands left their homes to learn and teach this new way of life. Many more remained behind and supported those who became monks and nuns, providing them with food. Whether few people have not followed the way, but they have become the supporters of the people, of these monks and nuns. Jainism was supported mainly by traders, farmers, traders and farmers who had to kill insects to protect their crops found it more difficult to follow the rules, because if farmers will not protect their crops from the insects, they will not get the production. So they could not follow the rules of Jainism. Over hundreds of years, Jainism spread to different parts of North India. Followers of Mahavira were known as Jainas. Mahavira taught in Prakrit language, which was the language of common people. Prakrit spoken in Magadha was known as Magadhi. Jainism spread to different parts of North India and to Gujarat, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. The teachings of Mahavira were written down in the form in which they are presently available at a place called Vallabhi in Gujarat. In this way, we have seen the thoughts of Mahavira also. Then who could join the Sangha? Both the Mahavira and the Buddha felt that only those who left their homes could gain true knowledge. Those who leave home should live in Sangha or association. The rules made for Buddhist Sangha were written down in a book called the Vinaya Pitaka. All men could join Sangha. Children had to take the permission of their parents, and women have to take their permission from their husbands. Men and women who joined the Sangha led simple lives. They meditated for most of the time and went to cities and villages. Debtors had to take permissions from the landowners. If they have taken any loan from the money lenders or landowners, they have to take permission from them. Otherwise, they can't go there in the Sangha. As well as they taught others and helped one another. They also held meetings to settle and quarrels that took place within the Sangha. Those who joined the Sangha included Brahmins, Kshatriyas, merchants, laborers, barbers, courtesans and slaves. Many of them wrote down the teachings of the Buddha. Some of them also composed beautiful poems describing their life in the Sangha. Men and women who joined the Sangha led simple lives. They meditated for most of the time and went to cities and villages to beg for food during fixed hours. That is why they were known as bhikkhus, the Prakrit word for renouncer or the beggar, and bhikkhunis. So the male were called as bhikkhus and female were called as bhikkhunis. They taught others and helped one another. They also held meetings to settle any quarrels that took place within the Sangha. So the Mahavira's also teachings were to leave the house, to meditate, and to bring the positive energy in you that he was teaching to the people. And the sanghas were for the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, merchants, laborers, barbers, for everyone. The next point we'll see, that is monasteries. Both Jaina and Buddhism, monks went from place to place throughout the year and teaching people. The only time they stayed in one place was during the rainy season, when it was very difficult to travel. They could not travel in this season, and that's why they wanted to stay on one place. But they were making the huts or the temporary settlements for these. Some villagers were helping, or these monks themselves were helping. Then their supporters built temporary shelters from them in gardens, or they lived in natural caves in hilly areas also. As time went on, many supporters of the monks and nuns, and they themselves felt the need for more permanent shelters, and so monasteries were built, or these monasteries are known as viharas also. These were known as viharas. The earliest viharas were made of wood and then of brick. Some were even in caves that were dug out in hills, especially in western India. The local people came with gifts of food, clothing, and medicines for the monks and nuns. In return, they taught the people. Every day, they were having the meetings and giving the messages, ideas to the people in these meetings. The system of ashramas started by Brahmins. There were 4 ashramas: Brahmacharya ashram, Grihasthashram, Vanaprasthashram, and Sannyasashram. Brahmacharya ashram means the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishya men were expected to lead simple lives and study the Vedas during the early years of their lives. Grihasthashram, they had to marry and live as householders. They have to take care of the family members and their children in Grihasthashram. In Vanaprastha, they had to live in forests and had to meditate. And the 4th ashrama, Sannyasashram, finally They had to give up everything and become sannyasis. They have to leave their house and their family members, and they have to live alone in the forest as they take the sannyasa from all the belongings, all the possessions. In this way, we have seen the system of ashramas: Brahmacharya ashram, Grahasthashram, Vanaprasthashram, and Sannyasashram. A Buddhist text tells us, just as the water of rivers lose their names and separateness when they flow into the mighty ocean, so are varna and ranks that and family forgotten when the followers of Buddha join the order of monks. We'll see the points to remember at the last point of the lesson. Zoroaster was an Iranian prophet. His teachings are contained in a book called the Avesta. Zoroastrianism was a major religion in Iran. Zoroastrians were the ancestors of today's Parsis. The word Jaina comes from the term Jina, meaning conqueror, means who always wins. Panini prepared a grammar for Sanskrit. He arranged the vowels and the consonants in a special order and then used these to create formulae like those found in algebra. He used these to write down the rules of the language in short formulae, around 3000 of them. So whatever the language or the grammar we use, it has come from originally from Sanskrit language, which grammar we use. So Panini is the founder of grammar from the Sanskrit language. In this way, we have seen Jainism, Buddhism, or the life given by the Buddha, teachings given by the Buddha and Mahavira, the life of the monarch